I'm probably going to get canceled for saying this.
So I'm not about canceling you. I like what you're trying to do, but I think that you're wrong. I'm going to explain why. And for anyone watching this is going to be long. Buckle up. It's going to be good.
But I see a lot of people on this app fantasizing that the United States is going to be like the country of Georgia or South Korea.
So here's one thing where I think you're wrong. A lot of us aren't fantasizing because a lot of us don't want this. But there are some of us that understand and recognize what's happening over there should happen here. It needs to happen here.
Y'all, about 100 million people voted for Donald Trump.
No, it's actually closer to 75 million. Out of 262 eligible voters, Harris got like 74, 73 or something. There's like a 3 million different, 1% different. Not that many. 100 million voters didn't even vote.
And they want what's coming. They want this.
This is another thing I disagree with. The thing to understand is there's a small percentage of the people that voted for Trump that are actually in his cult and actually do want the things that they believe he's saying. I think another, at least half, maybe even 2/3 of the people are just moronic enough that they fell for his lies and they didn't really believe the extreme things that they thought the Democrats were lying to them about. Point being is that there's a lot of people that voted for him that are going to be shocked when his craziness starts to unfold. Not to mention that 100 million people that didn't even vote and are about to be freaked the fuck out.
I am not trying to be a big fucking Debbie Downer, but I am pointing something out, and it's that we are not a small country that is all on the same page. That's not what the United States is.
I do agree. We are not on the same page. We're not a small country. And another big difference is, unlike South Korea, unlike Georgia, we are far removed from true oppression. A lot of us today don't know what it really looks like, don't know what it means. We're kind of spoiled rotten.
The reason that the Kremlin spent decades just flooding the internet in the United States with disinformation is because they knew that they would put a giant crack in our consciousness in the United States. And it absolutely worked.
Agree with that? It absolutely worked.
So I'm going to use a little analogy. Let's say South Korea, all the things that just happened to South Korea, but also 1/3 of the people in the country were full-on zombies with AR-15s. So now South Korea is not just fighting the government, they're also fighting zombies with AR-15s. That is the situation in the United States.
Yes, fighting for freedom, defending democracy is hard. A great example of how we're so disconnected with the reality of what it really takes to earn your freedom. Our forefathers knew about it, but we are generations away from ever having to do anything more than scroll through TikTok.
But here, I'm going to add the other piece of this. The other piece is this. 38% of the people in this country didn't even fucking vote in this election. They didn't vote, which means, A, they don't give a shit. B, they're not convicted of anything. Or C, they are actively very anti-government, which could be something that works in our favor.
You're right. Some of those people won't, but a lot of them will. Once they realize what's really going on. Up to this point, they've all been spoiled rotten. We have to make sure to expose the reality as it unfolds and make sure they know where it's coming from, because they won't figure it out on their own.
A combination of those things. Some of those people are not going to help with anything if we were to actually push back.
On this point, we are going to disagree. I believe that 100 million people didn't give a shit, but will, or were apathetic, but won't be. And if they're anti-government, they're going to be even more so after Donald Trump turns all of his rhetoric into reality and shakes that sleeping giant. That's what needs to happen, and it can happen if we encourage it.
So what I'm saying is, There's a lot of humans in this country right now who are very violent, who are very, very, very pro-Trump. And they absolutely want to choke down whatever he's serving up. Do you hear me? And those are the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So we know that they're not mentally stable, and that if they're out in the streets, it's to fight you, honey. It's not to fight the government. Do you see what I'm saying?
Everything you just said right now is what we call complying in advance. You are finding excuses, identifying difficulties, and somehow justifying apathy because it might be hard. I'm not suggesting that we take to the streets and raise our arms against these folks, but the last thing we do is comply in advance out of fear.
We do not have a clean situation like these other countries, and I understand that blows. It really does. But I just keep seeing all these sweet souls out here saying, look, we got to do exactly what they're doing. Okay, babe, but we are not them. Trust me, I wish we were.
And I sure as hell am not a sweet soul. And you're right, we are not them. But we better sure as hell figure out how the fuck to be like them. Otherwise, we sit on our ass and watch Donald Trump become the dictator and destroy this country. People like you mean well and we love you for it, but you gotta get up off your ass and get your hands dirty.